Today is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021, and this video is called Living in a Post-Truther World. And it's something that I think about a lot these days. It just feels like
Does me dying of laughter earlier count? No, because that wasn't during bingo. Kingdom Reborn says, is this the grand unification theory? Sure.
we're in a new era.
And Nick, thank you for subscribing for 6 months, says 3 more months until I name our sub baby, after probably a hockey player.
A post-truther era, and just what I mean by that is, well, starting I guess around 2017, it really feels like that was just a big time period. YouTube was full of truther channels, and it felt like information was really coming out at a pretty quick speed.
AKA 2017 was like the height of YouTube recommending conspiracy videos to people. That was also the height of the Flat Earth movement, not coincidentally. So yeah, they've adjusted their algorithm and content guidelines and moderation since then. So luckily there are actually a lot fewer conspiracy videos on YouTube. A lot of them have moved over to BitChute or Rumble, so they're still out there, but YouTube itself has cleaned up quite a bit.
And
although Call for an Uprising still is around for some reason.
things felt new. Just waking up has a strange feeling to it. You wake up and you have that moment of, oh man, this is where we...
Hans WormHat to me feels like if this were like a Dragon Ball Z situation. Hans WormHat to me feels like either like Piccolo or like Vegeta, in that he and I were enemies once, and he was the biggest threat, you know? He was a conspiracy theorist I covered all the time, but now because of the escalation of the other people that I have to cover, like a Call for an Uprising, all of a sudden, Vegeta doesn't seem so bad, and maybe you could even be friends, you know what I mean? Who is Yamcha? Someone would have to give a shit about Yamcha for me to make a comparison. And no one does.
we live. And I guess just now it feels like we're past that. And really, I mean, if you probably know as well as I do that a lot of the big truther channels that were out have just gone and disappeared, and nobody hears of them anymore. And the ones that are still around, it seems like they're kind of just droning on and on about the same topic that they ever were.
So this is Hans WormHat criticizing the conspiracy theory community, which is wonderful. Thank you, Hans. Daddy Sume says, I don't know what this Yamcha is, but it sounds disappointing.
And really not much evolution of thought these days. And so it just feels like we're past that. And I guess there's also this aspect, something I thought about, it's like being a freshman versus being a senior. Freshmen, they're all nervous about stuff, everything's new and exciting, and every day feels like something crazy could happen. And then by the time you're a senior, just you're a lot more used to everything. It takes a lot to shock you, and I guess you're more jaded by that point, and it just nothing feels weird anymore. You're just used to the routine of it, I guess. So that's just feels like used to the routine of believing all sorts of things that society doesn't believe, and standing up for what you believe in, no matter what people come and mock you with. It just doesn't faze me anymore. I guess that's what it is. I feel like I'm starting to go back into society, but just separate myself now. Like I'm more able to just live a normal life and feel more normal.
See, this is great. This honestly is great for Hans. I'm very happy for him. It seems like him sort of distancing himself from the channel and not constantly posting conspiracy content and probably not indulging in it quite as much on the internet has sort of weaned him off and taken him a little bit further away from the edge. You know what I mean? I think I've talked about this before, but conspiracy theories and conspiratorial thinking can often be analogous to like an addiction, right? You get a sense of happiness and excitement, and you get these endorphins and stuff if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're engaging in this kind of stuff. And it seems like he's been able to detach himself from at least excessively and constantly indulging in these activities, in these conspiracies. And while he still has beliefs that are not exactly in line with reality, he's less fanatical about them. And that's a great first step. I really am happy for him, and I hope he continues to sort of keep those things on the periphery of his life and not make them the focus like they had been for so long. Nick says, like Call and his obsession with anal? I don't even know what you mean by that.
Not like waking up feeling like, oh, I'm in Bizarro world still. It just doesn't feel like that anymore. And I guess there's just this separation. Oh yeah, I have a bunch of wacky ideas that a lot of people don't agree with. It just doesn't feel extreme to me anymore. I'm more at the point of everybody should be able to have their own thoughts and opinions about anything. And so that's just how I feel about myself, and it just doesn't feel so strange or extreme to me anymore that I have opinions and I have theories and ideas that a lot of people freak out over. I just don't freak out over it anymore. It's just become very normalized at this point, and yeah, that's a big thing.
You wonder how Dogs Are Fake guy is doing? That's Dussy Guy. Dussy Guy was Dogs Are Fake guy, I think. Wasn't it? Or was that a different guy?
So one aspect of being post-truther, I guess, is I've been disconnecting a lot from the internet. I don't really watch truther channels. This is a concept that I know I've briefly mentioned a few times, but I think it's really important, and the idea of umbrella.
I don't know why Daddy Sume felt the need to say this, but he gave me bits. So he says, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but Nick Fuentes is a twink, and I would F him. Yes, I'm being facetious and weird. Don't ask why. Why?
Umbrellas versus rabbit holes. And maybe you've heard the term like umbrella corp. So just to give you an idea of this rabbit hole versus umbrella corp. You know how some people there might be some guy who's really into CIA and spends so much time investigating everything about the CIA. Everything in this person's mind is to blame about the CIA. And that would be more of like a CIA rabbit hole, going in and trying to investigate everything about the CIA, all the little conspiracies about the CIA. That's very like rabbit hole minded. Whereas umbrella is when some people get stuck in those little things. In that person's mind, everything is because of the CIA. Okay. Whereas a rabbit hole idea, or whereas an umbrella idea is just all the world governments, the NWO is just already here. I think of that as just a very umbrella concept, because all sorts of other smaller topics fit underneath that. All of the government institutions are in on it. It's not just the CIA or the IRS or whatever. All of these are under the umbrella of the New World Order, which is just already here.
Okay, I'm gonna count that as Deep State on the bingo card. The Deep State. Daddy Sume says, I just wanted to see chat go mad. Sorry for the mental image. How dare you?
And I have a short list of these things. So, and the point of this, where I think this applies to the post-truther, it's just any channels that are still around, or any people that kind of say that they're a truther or whatever, it seems like most of them are just chasing a rabbit hole instead of teaching big truths. And so I think that there's just a lot of room out there still. I'm not saying that...
I'm really glad Hans hasn't gotten into QAnon, because it seems like he'd be very susceptible to it.
That nobody should go try to be a truther. I just think that we don't need truthers anymore. Truthers, it's like podiums. There's no podiums. We're all on the same level. And anybody can go talk about truth just as good as anybody else out there.
Wait, did he say outer space is fake and gay already? If so, I'm also going to count that as flat Earth. Because he is in fact a flat earther that thinks Space is fake and gay. Where is the thing? There we go.
That's my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's in the picture. I guess he's gonna say it soon. I know he verbally says it.
I don't think we need truthers. I think anybody can start making videos today and do just as good of a job as anybody else out there. And the reason being, I think most people out there are stuck in this more of rabbit hole mindset as opposed to people who truly get it, truly get that it's all fake, or truly get the four skeleton, or the four kinds of people thing. So this is the one example. Yeah, I go out there and I see people talking about EGI, elite gender inversion, and of course that's a gatekeeper topic because it's not just the elite. You can just walk around town and see all sorts of inverted people. So
he thinks everyone is secretly trans except for him. That's what he means by inverted. Morak says, space is gay. I don't know about flat earth, though. I think the earth is pretty busty myself.
There's that chasing the rabbit hole.
He'll mention this stuff, and I'll call it out as he mentions it verbally.
Of every day, and I used to be a part of this, right? Every day waking up, oh, is that celebrity inverted? Is that celebrity inverted? You could waste your whole lifetime doing that. If you just wake up every day and you're like, what about that one? There goes your whole life. Go.
At least Hans has the little level of self-awareness to recognize that he was not being productive in what he was doing. That's good. He isn't recognizing that he was ever wrong, which of course he is, but at the very least he's like, this is not healthy for me. Dude, man, thank you for 12 months, says 1 whole year of Hannah and Earth still isn't flat. I know. Crazy, right?
Going through the whole list of them instead of just coming to the knowledge of the whole, it's all of them. That's a more umbrella. All of them are. Start from there, and then you'll wake up to all sorts of other truths. So some more examples. NASA, Sun Simulator, Nibiru, Extra Dimensions. And
okay, that's a couple right there. We have holographic and or fake sun and Planet X Nibiru, which we almost never get. So thanks, Hans. Cool Sage says, Tom Cruise in Top Gun, I was inverted. There's the proof.
Instead of just realizing outer space is fake and gay. Mud Flood, Tartaria, Star Forts, everything is a fossilized giant. Those are just really popular type rabbit hole type things. And I don't think that it's bad to research this kind of thing. I just think that spending your whole time consuming the truth or media that's out there right now, and you know, I use that term really loosely, truther, because I believe that Jesus Christ is the truth, and that's the only truth that really matters in my...
Does space is fake and gay count as gay agenda because we're being loose? I'll allow it. Sure. The gay space agenda.
My opinion. So when I use the word truther and I'm talking about YouTube people, I use it very lightly because...
Space is gay? Yeah. Space came out last year. Good for them.
I don't support what these people do because they're sending people off on rabbit holes instead of just saying it's all fake, everything's fake, and the Bible's true. Importantly, that's the thing that makes me a little bit upset is when there's these people out there that are missing the bigger picture that points to biblical truth. So I get annoyed when I see mud flood instead of people coming out and saying it's Noah's flood. When Noah's flood happened, there were enormous masonry buildings around. They didn't crumble in Noah's flood, they just sank into the ground a little bit, and then free masonry. That should just be common knowledge by now, the whole free masonry thing. But I don't know, you'd have to tell me, do you hear mud flood people explain the simplicity of the term free masonry? Why it's called free masonry? Because they got all the masonry for free?
Okay, so Illuminati Freemasons and ancient wisdom for the Bible stuff. Let me explain what he's talking about there. Okay, so for those who don't know, the Freemasons started as a guild being sort of a union type thing, a trade guild. It's a lot like a union, but for independent contractors, right? So it's called Freemasons because they were independent or free Masons. They didn't work for a specific person. They were contractor Masons that you could hire that were part of this guild, right? This trade guild. Over time, it evolved into more like a club, a fraternity, stuff like that. But that's the origin, and that's why it's called the Freemasons. He believes they're called the Freemasons because, in Hans's worldview, he believes that ancient civilizations built all sorts of amazing architecture, up to and including Washington, D.C., the White House, Congress, the Washington Monument. He believes that these were built by Babylon thousands of years ago, and then were flooded by mud, by the Noah's Ark, by the Noah story, and that later the Freemasons came along and just dug up those buildings. They didn't build them, they just dug up the buildings, and it's free masonry, and that's why they're called the Freemasons, because they found the White House buried underground after Noah's flood. So that's what he believes.
Continuing on, I still hear so much stuff about HARP, Age of Aquarius type stuff. We're really in an ice age. People love to talk about grand solar minimum, etc., etc., etc. However, I hardly ever hear people mention, oh, it's Isaiah end times prophecy. The sun is brighter, the moon is brighter. I hate the global warming denial. There's a really strong global warming denial in the, again, air quotes, truther community. And I have problems with the word global, of course, but the sun is hotter. That's the thing. You get these people that, oh, sun simulator, it's really an ice age. These people are doing a disservice. That's not the truth. Clearly the sun is hotter than it used to be. So I have problems with a lot of...
It's interesting that he believes in climate change, but not for the reasons that it actually exists. He thinks the sun is literally hotter than it used to be. Two Man says, but Hannah, I thought all those places were built by slaves. I guess I need to get educated. Hans doesn't believe the slave trade happened. Von Tuck says, Freemasons are freegans. What's the origin? Just his own word association? Yeah, I think so.
Alleged truther material. And just the last example of rabbit hole versus umbrella type thinking. JFK assassination. I should have put here.
He did set HARP, by the way. HARP weather control on the bingo card. Make sure you mark that off. Nick says he went so far into climate denial he wrapped around. I know, it's impressive. Mr. X8, thanks for subscribing for 7 months.
You're just chasing the news. There's a lot of people that every day they're turning on the TV to see what news story that they can bust. But when you know that it's all fake, what's the point? There's just no point in investing your time into that. And so yeah, the bigger umbrella is everything on the TV is fake and gay. And I just wanted to give one example of why this more open-minded and less narrow-minded thinking when it comes to this sort of conspiracy, truther type topic, it can lead you to more truths the more broad you make your thinking. Everything on the TV is fake. That's just something that you should come to accept. And then with that, you can realize, well, that means that Nat Geo is fake. How much that's out of Nat Geo is real? So that's just something to think about if that's a topic you're interested in.
He still thinks animals that he can't see aren't real. Morak says, I don't know if he believes this, but growing up, my brother thought that before the biblical flood, the world was super advanced sci-fi society. He got this idea from, I believe, the Christian fiction author Ted Decker. I've never heard Hans talk about that.
So I'm going to end with this. I want to talk about some biblical stuff. This is a huge topic. Again, this kind of goes into people get lost down these rabbit holes trying to explain the time thing. instead of just understanding that the Bible's true and that this is part of biblical prophecy. I still hardly ever see people talk about Jesus and how Jesus told us that the days are going to be shortened. I see more people point out that the Quran talks about it. Somebody recently pointed this out in Amos, so I'll show this. Amos
Muddy says, I need my own TV show. I want to be fake and gay.
chapter 8. This isn't the verse, but it's kind of setting the stage. Verse 9. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord God, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day. So this is end times prophecy in other parts of the Bible. So this is a good part, and this connects to something else I want to share. Chapter 8, starting at verse 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord God, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. In that day shall the fair virgins and young man faint for thirst. So, I think that this is very applicable to today. To today. There really isn't famine or thirst on the earth today. Not, at least not the way that the TV wants you to think.
Von Tuck says, I wonder if Hans would benefit from going on a trip to various nature preserves around the world, or if he'd find a way to believe something crazy. It's definitely the latter. Yeah, he thinks hunger and thirst don't exist in the world.
And probably not in times past. Famines and things like that probably used to wipe out huge populations. In the Bible, they talk about war of attritions. They would camp around the cities and just starve them out.
I like that his only source for war of attrition is the Bible, and not literally all of history.
And just today, I don't think it happens on that kind of scale, but there is a thirst and a hunger for just righteousness and truth. The whole world is under great deception, and the things that we thirst for are spiritual.
Wait, G-Man believes there are no starving Christian children? What the fuck? Does he not know about, like, Christians in China who get persecuted? What the hell? Not to mention, of course, you know, there are people in developing nations that are Christian as well who also have, like, other struggles. But, you know, there are tons of examples.
Back in the days, back in biblical times, it's like the spirit level was cranked up to 11 compared to today. There were miracles being manifested left and right. God was actually there. Not that, okay, God, of course, is everywhere, but God showed himself with miracles, and it's just not like that anymore. People used to actually perform magic. Sorcery used to be a thing.
No, it didn't. We didn't have a spot on the bingo card that's like magic, do we? Don't think we do. I'll just check. No, okay.
And today it's like a lot of that's gone. So it's just something I connect with. Now, here's the verse that some people have pointed out that this is pointing to time moving more quickly. Now, when I read this, I don't necessarily read it as time moving more quickly. I guess it could be. It just seems more like the seasons get kind of out of whack. Which is certainly true. And that's I think, a big part of just my opinion about the whole climate change and all that. I think Isaiah prophecy is coming true. I think days are moving more quickly. So I think that the NWO spends an enormous amount of effort. I think that they have, like, very
New World Order.
very advanced weather AI.
You know, the weather AI. Von Tuck says he's using Adventure Time logic when he says the world was once more magical. Awesome.
That calculates what they should do to try to keep the weather from going just completely haywire. I think that all the chemtrails and stuff, it's like
Chemtrails on the bingo card! We did it. We did it. Where's chemtrails? So Hans doesn't know how seasons work? No. No, he doesn't. He doesn't believe in space.
They're trying to lessen the effect of Isaiah end times prophecy. And I think, of course, sometimes they're just covering the sky because maybe there's strange things happening in the sky and they want to cover it. Anyways, I'm going to read this. Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9, verse 13. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed. And the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt.
Von Tug says, God, I miss when chemtrails were the most nefarious, widespread conspiracy theory. I know, right?
So,
in fairness, that's never really been the case. There's always been an undercurrent of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories in the conspiracy community. People just didn't see it as much.
the end time sign is the hills melting. And
Boy, you know what sounds good right now? Some cheese. There's a free one for you.
I don't know what this...
Bingo? Alright, let me see your card. Random invite.
Sweet wine is talking about, but the beginning talks about time getting all screwed up. So I agree with that.
Let's take a look. Deep State, Gay Agenda, Free Space, Hot Pockets Cheese, Harp. Yep, random invite wins. Let me write your name down. That's the bingo winner for Hans WormHat Bingo. For the record, I still have a ton of people who have not redeemed their bingo, okay? I'm going to go down the list just in case anyone's here who forgot they won a bingo. K.R. Goss. Some of these people haven't shown up in a while, in fairness, but... K.R. Goss, Purple Nickel, Will Kale, Ran the Fool, Photos with a G, Tellurian Katrin, Bitter Grin, Cat the Satanists, Annie Kai, Lord Necro Jay-Z, and Random Invite. You all have a bingo win. Just so you know.
I think the most obvious is when Jesus says that the days will be shortened.
Sub you will do. One second, someone did a timeout. I'm trying to see. You want me to time out Random Invite right after the win? That's a dick move. You know what? No, that's vindictive. I'm not gonna do it. Keep your channel points. I'm not gonna time that person out just because they won bingo. Dick move.
Days literally are shorter than they used to be. So I don't see why, whenever anybody talks about time moving more quickly, there should be somebody coming out and saying, yeah, Jesus told us that time would move more quickly in end times. Okay, so I'm going to end with just reading some John chapter 6, because this is just something that I've been thinking about.
Honestly, that was probably a really good time to win bingo, because I don't even think we're going to watch the rest of this video. The rest is just him reading scripture.
Truth or idea.
It's very boring.
To eat.
So that was perfect.
I have no idea. Time for all the fouls that were called and timeouts and that stuff. It just feels to me like we're in the overtime. And it's only a matter, nobody knows the day. Don't listen to any channel that spouts out specific dates for things. I don't think that we're supposed to be doing that stuff. I just think that we need to go back to just trying to live a normal life and just realize that, yeah, live a normal life and support freedom of thought. That's it. And support Jesus Christ. Try to make real life. Keep trying to find all the lost sheep.
You get it. So Hans, I don't know if he's going to continue to make videos or what. If this was like a one-off, either way, funny.